Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Leadership Kitchen. I'm Olya Panivnyk, author and host of this podcast, and also CEO and founder of Be Change consulting and coaching agency. And by now, you may know that I'm passionate about transforming people, teams, and businesses. And to me, our guest in the kitchen today is one of the great examples of transformation leader. I'm welcoming Andriy Stytsyuk in the kitchen today. Andriy is senior leader and CFO and CEO at SoftServe company. And I'm really honored by the fact that we had a chance to go through a couple of transformations with Andriy together. Andriy, welcome. And maybe you would like to add something to introduce yourself.
I'm Andriy. Hello, everyone. And, I think you made a great introduction. And the best introduction is the content and the questions and the answers that we will have during this session. They will be speaking for themselves, good or bad. So I suggest we just proceed.
Great. And, actually, it might disturb a bit the background noise, but it's great since it's part of life and it's part being in the kitchen and cooking. So it's true life. And let me start with my usual question. What does leadership mean to you? What is this phenomenon is about for you? Could you please share?
Leadership is many things, but to me, it's about one very specific thing. There is this framework when people are talking about 5 fundamental elements of any project, any change, any initiative, be it life or work. And these elements are vision, skills, incentives, resources, and then plans. Five key things. To me, leadership is about primarily first 2 elements, which is providing vision and making sure that you have right skills. Not you, but you in a broader sense. You build a team, you deliver it yourself, but you have the right skills in place to deliver on that vision. And then you just step aside and make sure that those who have the right skills deliver on the vision. That's like the quintessence of the leadership in my view. So usually, by far the best situations in the work environment or in in personal life is when I can clearly formulate in a North Star, the future, how I see it. And then when I see like the eyes of people who I'm talking to become super bright, inspired, motivated by that view of the future, and they already start figuring out how to get there. And just believe me, if they have the right skills, if they have the right passion, then you're no longer needed. But again, it's not just a one-off exercise. All the time you need to go back. All the time you need to make sure that the sparkle is still there, that you need to make sure that you embrace the change. You make sure that, you realize that something in the environment changes, and then, does it really change that North Star? Does it change that vision? Do you need to make a correction? And that's it, right? Everything else can be handled with a great people, with a proper executional discipline, with just passion, right? But that, to me, is the definition of leadership.
Andriy, and let me please give you some challenge. What does it take to be a leader, to be that person who provides that North Star and makes sure that people have right skills in Ukraine today, our shared homeland with you, which fights against Russian invasion? I bet there are some peculiarities of being a leader today in Ukraine. What do you think?
What it takes to be that kind of leader? First of all, you need to have 2 critical traits. One is called empathy. Without empathy, you will not be able to share and inspire all people around you, because it's not what inspires you, it's what inspires them. And on the other hand, it's seeing a big picture, seeing the forest behind the trees, as we say here in Ukraine. A very, let's say, Barnes and Noble example. What it means. You can be a bricklayer and you can lay bricks, and you can say, and when you're asked what you're doing, you can say, "No, well, I'm laying bricks. I'm building walls." Like, okay, that's basically it. But at the same time, you could be, while doing that, you could be building a church, or you could be building a school, or you could be building a hospital, or you could be building a residential house. So it's very important, even to a bricklayer, to give that North Star and say, okay, this is what we're doing. And make sure that, again, the eyes are bright, and the person is inspired and has a purpose in the work that has been done, irrespective of how routine or boring it might be initially or altogether. The second part of your question, I hear is about, okay, but what is leadership in Ukraine, and how does it transform into something meaningful? So again, this piece also has two parts in it, and one part is you do not necessarily find skills in Ukraine, especially taking into account that the modern history of Ukraine has not been long. And after Soviet Union, there was a huge gap in leaders. There was a huge gap in some skills, especially when it comes to doing business, especially global business. In those cases, you do not acquire skills, you do not hire people with skills, but you find talented people and develop them and make sure they acquire the skills while they are working. And that also means that a significant piece of the leadership job in Ukraine, and I bet in most other places as well, but I'm talking about my experience here, is to be super hands-on, and not to only say, okay, there is a bright star, that's the strategy, you go there, and then don't care about tactics, but also make sure that you can show people how to get there. That if you see that people are stuck, they are confused on what their next step should be, and what skill they need to acquire, where they see gaps, you need to sit down and do it together with them. That has been my mantra all over. I try to provide as clear of a guidance as I can, and just step aside. And if people can do that on their own and feel proud of and take credit for what they do, this is fantastic. If I see that there might be some issues, then I just sit and do it together with them as just their peer. And that, I think, is a very important part of being a leader in Ukraine. The second part of being a leader in today's Ukraine is about trying to find the right balance in the circumstances of absolute uncertainty. So let me try to describe, and I'm sorry, it will probably take some time, but there are so many elements where you need to find the balance. So many of us on the personal level have friends who have either been hurt or are fighting for the freedom and fighting for the lives and for our country. So you need to emotionally invest into that. You need to financially invest into that. you need to put a lot of efforts into helping all your closest ones. As a business, and the company I am working for, SoftServe, is a very, very, very responsible business, and it's mission driven more than it's business driven. This is how I would define it. And so at SoftServe, we have multiple programs on how we are supporting all of those who are in need, medical equipment in hospitals, and our associates who have been mobilized and now are defending our country. And like every opportunity to help, we're helping. So that takes time and effort to organize, to make sure it's working, to make sure that it's timely, it's effective, and the business efficiency and effectiveness is actually translated into that activity. You also, you probably know that there are power outages in Ukraine these days because of the Russian missiles who hit a lot of the energy generating plants and stations. So you need to take care about the business continuity, and you need to make sure that you do it on a personal level as well as on the business level, that you as a person can continue doing your work irrespective of what happens. I had to install a lot of solar panels and batteries, and I have also a diesel generator. So like triple, quadruple reserved for something that is unpredictable, right? Right now I don't have internet in my house, the cable, but I have Starlink, and I'm getting internet through Starlink. If something happens there, then from time to time I still have cable that might be powered when the power is on. At the same time, you need to deliver, right? And I haven't yet come to the like your just normal business life, your normal business purpose, your people who are part of your team, your customers who are part of your family. And you need to find the right balance, because on the one hand, you want to make sure that the customers believe in you, that you can deliver, and that everything's fine from that angle. But at the same time, you don't want them to feel super safe and super, let's say, misled, because it's not all okay, right? And something can happen, and you care about your business, you care about their business, and need to deliver and craft the message in such a way where they understand severity of the situation, but they also understand that you can deliver. And I think being a leader in modern Ukraine is to find the right balance between all of these elements, which require incredible amount of effort, incredible amount of time, incredible amount of emotion, right? And sending warm wishes is a kind of phrase that we're saying we're celebrating something. What Ukrainians and Ukrainian leaders are trying to do these days is to be able, in this very tough environment, to keep sending warmest wishes and to keep sending all their energy towards those who are closest, those who are part of the team, are part of the bigger family, our customers, our associates, and overall people of Ukraine, and all of the people who we are engaged with. I'm sorry for this long answer, but I think that sophisticated and great question that you asked deserved to be answered to this level of detail, at least.
Indeed, Andriy, and thank you so much for sharing in such a profound and humble manner. And when I was asking myself how could I sum up what I heard from that, I thought it would be that leaders in Ukraine today take care of their people, grow their people, so that those people would deliver. Would it resonate with you?
Yes, absolutely. But let me give you a flavor to what you just suggested, Olya. So one specific thing, one of the problems that I'm facing every day and that I'm trying to address is this dilemma. Do you appear to be super caring and super attentive and to your people, and trying to address their personal issues, help them address their personal issues, help them address their work issues, and add to the overall anxiety? Or do you try to behave business as usual and help people from time to time for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for an hour, just feel it is business as usual? It is a normal business task that I'm professional, I can execute, and I'm doing that. I'm all in this task and I forget about everything else. So on the one hand, again, you can add to their anxiety if you're too empathetic, if you're too caring, and on the other hand, you might sound too dry if you help them just feel a little bit of a business as usual environment. So again, every day trying to find that right balance so that we all can still deliver.
Andriy, you're taking me to the next question. I'm sure that this dilemma is not the only one which you have to handle, which you had to handle through the years. You've been in the company, in SoftServe company, and SoftServe has been established many years ago, and it was just a few developers. Now it's one of the most successful players in the tech outsourcing industry, which operates in different geographies, serves clients in different geographies. And I bet it took a lot from you to be up to the company growth. And on one hand, you enabled it. At the same time, I believe you had to do something for a company not to outgrow you. Could you please share your story? What did you have to do to be up to where a company is today?
First and foremost, I would repeat my statement that SoftServe is more of a mission-driven organization than it is a business-driven organization. It has a certain mission, and the mission of SoftServe is, to enable talented people change the world. And when I first heard it, it was like just a normal marketing pitch to me. Like, okay, every company has that sort of thing. But then I realized that SoftServe University is investing in developing people, and not all of those people we are hiring. Right? Not all of those people become SoftServians. So we are contributing greatly to maturing the market, maturing the skills of the communities we live in. Open Eyes, the charity foundation that is largely sponsored by SoftServe, contributes and has been contributing long before the war to many fantastic projects, primarily in the domains of education and medicine. And I can keep going if we had half a day or a day for this conversation, but that helped me to also reconsider my journey from a pure, let's say, business down to earth career approach more to, okay, what my mission is. How can I help SoftServe execute on their mission while developing myself? SoftServe, whatever area you take, I probably touched it a little bit. I wouldn't say I achieved fantastic results everywhere, because it's impossible virtually to be great at everything. But I always took the challenge and tried to work in the sense that, okay, but what's next? What's missing? Where the critical gaps are? And joining SoftServe as a CFO, I then realized that I can actually do much more, that I can improve our company's operations, that I can contribute to the company strategy, that I could contribute to multiple areas, and not just as a leader who owns a certain function or a certain process, but I like to talk about myself as being a CFO of SoftServe, but also being a member of the executive team of SoftServe. And as a member of the executive team of SoftServe, my responsibility is everything that's done in SoftServe, together with my peers, my colleagues, who I enjoy working with. So all the time, you do not become complacent with what you achieved. Oh, I achieved that, so my brand is there, so let me just have a deep breath and just relax and just enjoy the benefits of what I achieved so far. What you achieved does not matter any longer. It's already part of a status quo. You need to think, okay, what do I achieve next? What do I change next? What do I do next? And then after you achieve that stage, there is always the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. And I think that most of the SoftServe associates, starting from the board and from the founders, have the same kind of philosophy. It's like, okay, that's already done, right? We've already done that. We've proved we can do that. Can we do more? Can we do something different? Can we do something more, even more exciting or even more bold? That, I think, is a secret of why SoftServe grew significantly over the past 30 years. And that is a secret that I learned from SoftServe that also helped me to grow at least at the same pace.
Develop your leadership skills with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Be Change, and follow our podcasts on Apple and Spotify. Support us with likes, comments, and share the episodes with your community. Andriy, I'm smiling to myself. To me, what you've just shared is a great reflection or replication of what you shared in the beginning in regards to what leadership is to you. Yes, it is very important to be business-driven, to be business-focused. If there is no today, if there is no revenue, no income today, there will be no tomorrow. But it's even more important to have that mission, to have that North Star, to have that vision you mentioned, and to constantly aspire to achieve it, getting necessary skills if you miss some. So to me, your story, your path with SoftServe is exactly how you described leadership in the beginning. But let me have a challenging question, another one. I'm challenging you today. You're a great example of how one can grow oneself to be up to where the company is today. But I'm sure that along your path, there were people who joined the company and there were great people with great values, but their skill set was not up to their challenges, tasks they had to deal with. Could you please share what you do in such situations? And we had a lot of questions from our listeners asking like what to do when people are not up to the bar. So your experience here would be very valuable.
Okay, that's a tough one. For many reasons, and one of the reasons is that let's assume the company is growing at a pretty significant pace, double digit, 20%, 30%, right, year over year. So the key challenge that I faced and that I keep facing is a person, or let's put it this way, few people can grow at the same pace on a personal level as the business grows on a growing market with efficient and effective and professional team and such. So 30-40% growth, personal growth year over year for like 20-30 years in a row, it's a mission virtually impossible for many people, right? And I'm probably not an exception to this rule. Maybe I just don't feel it yet, or I haven't reached my my ceiling. But it's about everyone. So what do you do in such cases? Well, and first and foremost, there are different kinds of jobs. And when I hire people, I usually say, you can do by the book, you can do 9 to 6 with 1 hour lunch break, and you can just do what's being asked. That's perfectly fine. We have so much work for people like you, and someone who is super enthusiastic, wants to develop, wants to find something new, wants to break through. I mean, would not be inspired by that kind of work. Just 9 to 6, doing the same kind of thing every day, and not just be complacent with that status quo. There are people like that, and that's okay. Again, within every company, there are different types of jobs. There are like that require different skills, different attitudes, different behaviors. And my answer is to these people, and is always like this. It's perfectly fine. Just do what you can do perfectly, and but at the same time, don't expect the company will or I will invest a lot of time into development, invest a lot of time into finding new horizon, help you grow. Right? It's like, you're fine doing that. I'm fine you doing that. You want to grow. It's your life. You're part of the business. You're part of the team. You're part of the family. Let's talk. Let's work together. Let's find opportunities. Let's find some cross functional projects, or like initiatives that sit well beyond what your current job is. Let's give you some executive presence. I'm constantly taking people who want to develop. I'm constantly taking them to meet the board, to meet the leadership team, to make sure people know them, to make sure people can contribute to their growth. Because maybe the lack of development, if I see that someone stopped developing at some point in time, although still passionate about growth, maybe that was because of me. So I need to make sure that they have experience talking to people outside of SoftServe with executive coaches. I try to make them visible to the rest of the leadership team, putting them on some initiatives where they can contribute and learn some new tricks, have some new experiences ultimately, and grow with people who can add to their growth, right? And in many cases, just taking them to the board and making sure they are visible. And this might be building my succession planning. This might be just developing these people. But at the same time, there were cases. There were not a lot of cases, because I usually not. I'm not very good at firing people or being tough with people. But where there were cases when nothing worked. Like the person did not want to grow professionally at the same pace, but at the same time required some recognition. So, like it's okay to part ways. Moreover, I would say it's super healthy to part ways, because maybe the way the person is treated, the way the person is working, the environment of the person in this company has its limits, right? And so that person already reached the limits within a certain environment, but can be fantastic and growing, and again, enthusiastic professional in a new environment. So although I'm all for loyalty, but I myself changed like five different jobs, and I think that is also very important. If everything you saw in your life is just one company, it's probably very limiting in terms of your personal development. I worked for a US public company. I worked for a Ukrainian large private group. I worked for a small business, and ultimately now I'm working for SoftServe. So and that added, because I could tell that there are certain circumstances that, well, I did not have a chance to face before SoftServe, but now I'm facing it in SoftServe, and that's a developmental opportunity for me. slightly different industries, slightly different teams, slightly different cultures, and all of that is a fantastic opportunity. So if you see that the person is stuck, just let him or her go. And that person, well, there are cases when people get back and say, well, yeah, this is the best, and I understand what was missing. Now I'm ready to go ahead. Or they will simply be developed in a new capacity. A lot of friends, a lot of colleagues from my past jobs, even from SoftServe, right now are fantastic leaders in national Ukrainian level businesses, in international businesses, living in Ukraine, living in abroad. Some of my colleagues who have been in the finance profession, fantastic finance professionals, now are CEOs of pretty large companies and are doing fantastic. So imagine what could happen if they stayed within a finance team and like limiting themselves and not expanding their horizon. So again, loyalty is fantastic. Having great people and stable teams and working all together for as long as possible is fantastic. But the world is much bigger. So try not to limit yourself and try not to limit your teams.
Andriy, you know, what I hear to me is a great example of integrating business and human approach. Why, first of all, you are not deciding for people whether they're up to bar or not. You sit together, you discuss where that person is today, where he or she would love to be tomorrow, if there is a gap between today and tomorrow. And if yes, then what you and that person are ready to do to bridge that gap. And in some cases, people may say that, nope, they are not ready to bridge that gap. And then it's time for them to let go and to find great opportunities. Yes, you just discussed. So thank you for sharing this. And we are approaching the end of our conversation. So by our good tradition, let me please invite you to share one recipe of leadership by Andriy Stytsyuk, which we would keep in the kitchen for our listeners.
I cook from time to time. Not that I'm a great cook, obviously. Not that I'm a passionate cook, because as a routine, I hate that. Probably most of the routines, but at the same time, when I cook, first time I take a recipe, and then next time I just try to make it by heart. And obviously I deviate. I cannot remember by heart all the milligrams and grams and even the composition exactly, but I would say that I've never been disappointed. Most of the time it's you get a pretty decent result, right? Again, not that I'm a great cook. I would probably be a very bad, let's say, chef in any restaurant if I decide to do so. That's not mine. But I don't have a single recipe. But what I would say is, one, there might be situations where you think, okay, how did I appear here? No, I don't like this. No, it's not mine. Well, it does not even comply with my kind of ultimate goals or where I'm heading to. But believe me, if your head there is, okay, I'm in this situation, how do I get the most of it? I'll just give you one tactical example. Once at the beginning of my professional career, I was in the finance, and I had and there was some sales training for salespeople, and there was a free spot, and then a friend of mine who was leading that function asked me if I want to do that. Well, I volunteered to do that. Sales, right? Finance and sales. What could be more opposite? Especially if you're just at the beginning of the career and trying to build your career in the finance, which requires an absolutely different skill set and personality profile and so on and so forth. But there was an opportunity, and I decided to do that. And moreover, in the session itself, I decided not to just sit and listen and learn, but I decided to actively participate. So at that point in time, I decided to just leverage the opportunity and take most of I could take from it, and it helped greatly. Another recipe is try to listen a lot. I'm usually a very bad listener. My wife tells me, when I'm telling something or asking something from your first reaction is to reject, like to say no, like no, sorry, don't have time, not gonna do that, and so on and so forth. But it requires some reflection, it requires some thinking, and then you come back in half an hour, in an hour, or sometimes a day or a month. Say, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I thought of it. Let's do that. And one of the best experience that I had, that the lesson that I still remember, and I'll just give you an example. Again, there was a leadership training at the beginning of my leadership career. There was a leadership training in one of the best leadership development companies that I worked for. And then we had kind of a follow-up session with the vendor, with the consulting firm that did the training. That was fantastic. And the thing they told me is, what we observe is that every time there is a conflict, there is a problem, your strategy to solve for that is to avoid it. So every time you move aside and let it happen, and then you move on, like it was not there. But what we see is that you can be 100% more successful if you don't ignore it and try to address it. You go through that problem, not around that problem. And you know what? Now every time I face something and I have that wish that let it pass, right? That's probably not worth it, or it's a conflict. I hate conflicts, and I still remember that advice, and which was about 30 years ago probably. And I just know I need to address it. I need to go through it. It's tough, but then I'm so much relieved after it happens. And I think it relates to everything, to forming a vision, to addressing big challenges, to addressing difficult tasks, to having direct conversations with people. And as a leader, you need to be able to have a direct conversation with your team, with anyone around, and that requires going through a potential conflict, not around it. So as I said, there is no one specific recipe to leadership success. Everyone has their own. I saw multiple super successful leaders, so much different that I think there are more than one solution. There are more than two solutions. There are more than 5 solutions to how to be a successful leader in a certain environment, in a certain context. But I just shared 2 elements of my recipe, which is just leverage the moment and take maximum out of any situation. And 2, try not to avoid conflict. Try to go through it. And these are my personal recipes that I like. Sometimes I use a certain, let's say 20 milligrams or 200 milligrams of each. Does not really matter. It matters that you know how and when to apply it.
Andriy, thank you so much for being in the kitchen with me today, for cooking together, for putting your heart and mind into what we've cooked. And your presence today is a tribute to Ukraine and all Ukrainians. Despite what happens outside, despite shortages of internet, and sometimes probably sound will not be great, but we were here. We had our conversation, and this is what Ukraine is doing today. Ukraine is living through all these challenges, not going around them. Thank you for sharing the dilemmas you have to face and how you deal with them. And thank you for being a leadership North Star to me and to many others. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Olya, for inviting, and it was fantastic experience. Sometimes it's so great just when you hear right questions, so great to reflect on something that you just did not find time or manage to reflect before. So thank you for driving that reflection time for me as well.
Thank you for listening to this episode all the way through. I greatly appreciate all your feedback. My team and I read every comment and value each one. I eagerly look forward to the opportunity to inspire you and share interesting thoughts in the next episode. If you have ideas about whom you would like to hear on the Leadership Kitchen podcast, please share them with us. And if you want to receive more useful information and develop your leadership skills, subscribe to our Be Change newsletter via the link in the episode description. Be the change you want to see in the world. This is Olya Panivnyk, founder and CEO of Be Change Coaching and People Advisory Agency.